Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us on the webinar today. My name is Stacy Chen. I will be the moderator for today's event, and we're very excited to have a special guest from Infragistics, one of our AppConnect partners, here with us today. Before we get started, just want to cover a couple things. We are recording the event, so you will be receiving the recording once it's available after the presentation. And then additionally, we want this to be as helpful and informative to you as possible, so please feel free to ask questions as we're going along, and we'll field those to our team and presenters here after the presentation is over. With that, I want to extend a warm welcome to Pierce for joining us, as well as Phil from Infragistics. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, hello. My name is Pierce Orgema. I'm a business development manager here at Mobile Iron, and I've been with Mobile Iron since the beginning of this year. Phil?
Hi, I'm Phil Dinsmore. I've been, after a short stint in the banking career, I've been in technology for a long time. I'm the Director of Enterprise Mobility within Infragistics, and happy to be talking to you today.
Cool. Well, thank you, Phil. So let's just dive in here. So again, this is Pierce, in case you haven't recognized my voice yet. I'd like to start my webinars and presentations off with a little bit of description of who we're targeting when building the content for this webinar. So essentially, we're talking about two companies here. We're talking about Mobile Iron, we're talking about Infragistics, we're talking about our combined solution. So if you are a customer of Mobile Iron, this is a great webinar for you. If you are a customer of Infragistics, this is a great webinar for you. And if you're looking to get generally more information about the combined solution between Mobile Iron and Infragistics, then this is a great webinar for you as well. If you are looking for a very specific, deeper technical dive on configuring the integration between the two solutions, we're not going to be diving that deep for this webinar. So just wanted to set expectations there for everybody on the call. And again, just a reminder, feel free to use the Q&A button in the top right-hand corner to ask questions, and we will field them towards the end of the presentation for you. So a little bit of an overview of our agenda for today. We're going to start off with what's the challenge that the solution, our partnership between Mobile Iron and Infragistics provides. We'll talk about the platform that solves the solution. We'll go through a demo of the solution as well, and then we'll conclude with a section about our companies and Q&A.
So thanks, Pierce. To frame our discussion as we first start out here, there's a chart on the screen that shows just the explosion and the huge numbers that mobile is in the market today, and both from a personal perspective and from a business perspective. And the explosion here is really pointed out in two places. One, if you look at that middle bar, it shows the number of enterprise mobile devices that are increased from year over year, 14 to 15, 72%. That's companies that are buying mobile devices for their employees to work. And the second piece, and probably the more interesting piece here, is the last bar out, which is number of business users that are wanting to access their applications on the go. And so 9 out of 10 people at every company that was surveyed, and that's pretty much a cross-section or example, folks like yourselves are looking for mobile business solutions. And really stronger than that, you need mobile business solutions to use every day in the marketplace. So that really presents then three challenges that we're looking at as we explore this. One is, how do you connect a mobile workforce? And not only just connecting here, it's not just access, but we're talking about creating productive work environments, or creating productive environments where people can be on the go and offline and online and working and connecting to their colleagues around the world. The second piece is, and one that I always talk about and really am a stickler on, is identifying the right information, and so to a large extent with mobile at the right time. So I ask myself the question, what's the value of the right decision at the right time? And to me, that number is sort of infinite. It's not only do we need the right analytics, but we need them at the right time, or in essence, with mobile all the time. But that also presents then that third issue out, which is, from a security standpoint and from a collaboration standpoint, how do we protect the corporate assets? How do we protect the information that we have? And that's a paramount concern. So we're going to look at all three of those things today, And to a large extent, we're going to use that through the lens of looking at a case study. So if we look at a use case example, this is a prospect and now client that was both Mobile Iron and Infragistics client, where they conquered these issues. And we're going to use this sort of as a real-world example of what can be accomplished by using the two solutions. So if you look at the example here, the use case here was the sales and marketing field sales force and field marketing force that needed connectivity for all the time for the assets that they were trying to get into. So things like price lists, documents, and this being a drug company, a large pharmaceutical company, drug interaction studies that need to be up to date at the minute. When you have people in the field that are actively working all the time, they need up to date information as they're moving, not as they're connecting into an office. So in this case, this pharmaceutical company, and as well as a lot of folks out there, were using SharePoint as their collaboration collection point. So here they're looking at accessing that information that's in SharePoint, getting the latest information, making any edits to it before they walk into their calls. And teams are filling out call reports at the end of it as they're walking out of offices or as they're walking out of meetings. They're also taking, in a really sort of a novel thing that you wouldn't expect it to happen, people grab their phones and take pictures of office staff because you want to know that Joe is behind the desk at that doctor's office, or that Jim is the guy in the field that you met yesterday, and you put a picture with a face, and that's improved their productivity tremendously just by using photographs and the ability to use mobile devices to do photos or videos, and that's improved tremendously. But the bottom line here is they want an application that they really want to use, so it has to look good, it has to be something that people want to use, but they really want to get to that question that's at the bottom. How do we securely collaborate anywhere in the world to improve productivity using an easy-to-deploy solution? That was what the client came back to both Mobile Iron and us and said, hey, this is the point. This is what it comes down to. This is the key question for me. So let's start talking about how we solve that question and how we solve that.
So the best way to really dive into understanding how we solve that is I want to give a good overview of the platform that Infragistics and Mobile Iron are integrating with, and how essentially the data flow works from the overall perspective. Now, I really want to stick with a strong emphasis on this question that was asked by this mutual customer of ours and separate it into two segments. And so the first segment we're going to be covering is security and ease of deployment, which, as you can probably figure out, is going to be the Mobile Iron part of this platform conversation. So many of you may be familiar with the Mobile Iron platform, but some of you may not. So I'm going to cover that here briefly. Now, when building a platform that secures mobile devices, logistically speaking, you need to have a basis to make sure all of your data at rest and data in motion is secure. Now, the basics of the security model is you need to have a policies engine where an IT admin can go in and configure the policies for how the device is going to be managed. And then those policies need to end up on the device with a EMM client that can be on any sort of mobile device where they read the policies and then act on the policies on the mobile device. So that's where the securing of the device and enabling the rules that the IT administrator sets for the device. Then on top of that, you need to establish a way to transfer data securely from the mobile device to the enterprise IT organization. And to do that, you need to have some sort of access control to manage the information that goes back and forth between the two entities. And so this is the overview of the basic structure of how an organization or how a company needs to secure data at rest and data in motion for mobile devices that are outside of the enterprise firewall. So of course, Mobile Iron has a solution for this, and we have what is known as our core or cloud, which stands for our policy engine and server, as well as our Mobile Iron application on the device, which takes the policies and communicates with the policy server to enact and enforce the policies on the device, as well as provide additional security to applications that are on the device. Additionally, we have what is known as Sentry, which manages access control of data in motion from the device to the enterprise IT organization. So let's move on to how does SharePoint integrate with our overall platform that I just demonstrated. So as you can imagine, the core and cloud policy server, the IT admin, will enable or allow the Mobile Iron managed device end user to install the Share Plus application on the device, or if it is part of their policy, they can push the application to the device automatically. So the user installs it, or it's pushed to the device, and the application is installed inside of the Mobile Iron secure container, providing additional encryption and security to the application itself, and also allowing the IT administrator to apply policies directly through their core or cloud instance to manage the Share Plus application. So once Share Plus is on the device, Share Plus will be configured to tunnel data through the Mobile Iron Sentry to connect past the enterprise firewall to their enterprise infrastructure, more specifically to their on-prem SharePoint repository. So now I want to move on. Now I want to move on to allow Phil to talk about the second half of this question, where he's going to talk about collaborating and improving productivity with the Share Plus application.
So that's perfect. Thanks, Pierce. So you can see how, it was easy to deploy through the Mobile Iron platform. You can see how we provide a secure layer so that people can work back and forth and do that in a secure manner, and corporate assets are protected. The next piece of this then is, well, how do you collaborate in that environment? How do you then improve the productivity? Because, I look at mobile devices most of the time and say, hey, if you're not improving productivity, that is the goal of mobile devices. Whether it's, we all think we play games on mobile devices, and we do, but, and our kids do it and things like that, but think how much more productive, I know it doesn't sound right, but think how much more productive they are at doing something with that mobile device. In the business world, it's the same thing. We're trying to improve the productivity of that person, in this case, in our use case, sales and marketing people, so that that guy or a gal can go to 5 or 6 calls in a day rather than 2 calls in a day from an old perspective. They can spend less time sitting behind a desk doing paperwork and a lot more time, in face-to-face with their customers, and then filing or getting their call reports done. And you can go to the next slide, Pierce, that's great. And doing their paperwork and filing everything on the fly as they go, and saving time from that perspective, time that they're getting back at the end of the day that they don't sit behind a desk and doing the myriads of paperwork that get filled out with all the things that we do. So the collaboration here means easy access into a SharePoint environment in this case, but also could be Google Drive, Dropbox, network file shares. It means being able to not only access that information, but also edit that information. It means to be able to work with my peers and collaborate, whether I'm offline or online, and we'll show and talk about how that's being done. So mobilizing all those assets that person is looking at. Annotating PDFs is a critical function that was used by the sales and marketing teams here, something that was critical for them to use. And they also want to work on docs inside of Microsoft Office for iPad, Office Online. They didn't have external editors, but you could work with external editors also. One of the points that they were looking for was tie into SharePoint 2013 social collaboration capabilities. And that's something that we'll discuss and we'll take a look at, but being able to link into your colleagues, being able to see what their likes are, following them, those are things that are critical for discovery of information internal to your organization also. And then lastly, they also need to create and share content and do that via SharePoint, or send out emails, or annotate PDFs and ship them around to where they want to go, as well as think about the productivity of sitting in front of a customer, in this case sales and marketing people, sitting in front of a customer and immediately emailing him exactly what you just got done talking about in a PDF that you've annotated and pointed out where the key points were that he that he gave to you. That's powerful in itself, just being able to do that real time as you're sitting in front of the customer there. So I talked about productivity, and you sort of get the bent that I'm really into being productive in terms of using that as the driver of why not only you make investments in mobility, mobile devices and mobile platforms, but it's how we need to work in trying to compete in a global society, in a global world where everyone else is as productive or trying to be more productive than we are. So what does that mean? It means we've created some great assets in SharePoint to do optimized search, and we want to extend those so that you can do that from an online perspective or from a mobile perspective. You want to be able to do in PDF search. So a lot of the documents that we come out with, you'll see things that are 200-page PDF documents that are manuals or that are sales guidelines or that are marketing docs. You want to be able to do searches in PDF, and that was a critical component for the group here. So the goal of all this is to be productive online or offline. And as you've looked at it, the bottom line here on the screen here shows that we've done an internal study at Infragistics and looked at what's the framework or what's the right UI, UX, user experience, and the right user interface that causes someone to be super productive. And what does that mean to an organization? So just in our internal studies, and lots of folks might know us on the phone as a company that really is in tune with the UX UI experience and sort of our dev controls and the things we do on other sides of businesses. But what does that mean to a customer? We've done internal studies that came back that if you can create the right user experience, you can create a 45% improvement in that person's productivity versus what they have used previously. So creating the right user experience, creating the right user UI is super important to making the person productive as they're going. So with that, let's go to a demonstration of what we're doing. And if you want to flip me, you have flipped me the ball. And I'm going to share my screen.
While Phil's getting the share going, it might take a minute, as sharing often does. So let me answer a couple quick questions here that we have in the chat. The first is, what does App Connect Partner mean? So MobileIron has a special technology which we call App Connect, which a solution like Share Plus can integrate with. It adds additional levels of security to applications that are on the mobile device. It allows them to communicate with the MobileIron application on the device and also implements additional security measures. And so if an application integrates with MobileIron and they have an application that lands on the device, they will be known as an App Connect partner. Now, Phil, it looks like you've got your, is that your iPad, I'm guessing? It looks like you've got your iPad up and running, so
yeah,
go ahead.
I've got my iPad up and running, and for everyone on the line, hopefully this all works well. Technology usually works well in front of you, but as we're going from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, and as I'm remote today, this is a real testament to whether mobile actually works. You're going to see different things, and hopefully it all works. So what you see pop up on the screen in front of you is what, for some of you that may have looked at Share Plus in the past, is a completely different look and feel. So here goes into that comment that I made about the right UX and UI. And this was something that was custom built for customers. Matter of fact, relatively the same type of screens that were custom built for the pharmaceutical company that we were talking about. But you look at a screen like this and you see an inviting environment that you can go directly into documents, departments, search, see conversations straight from the first tap that I go into the Share Plus environment. I'm going to go back and show you the traditional components of Share Plus, so for the folks that are new to the environment, and show you really and going into how do I navigate if I'm on the road and getting to something, if I'm that sales guy or that marketing person on the road, how do I navigate to the assets or to the things that I'm trying to get to? So I just tapped on Documents and went straight into the document list of what I most recently looked at, what I'm following, and then, based on the whole Microsoft world and the SharePoint environment, what's being recommended to me based upon what I've looked at and how I'm following and things along those lines. So you'll see With one tap, I can be directly into the documents that I most frequently use and can be doing productive work as I'm going in. Down across the bottom, you'll see things like favorites. When I tap on it, it'll go straight to my favorites here. You'll also see My Docs, which is my OneDrive capability within OneDrive for Business, and where my content is stored that I'm keeping. You'll see local files, and you'll see things that are edited by me. All quick, easy ways to access and to get to content, or navigate to content as quickly as you possibly can and get to things that we want to take a look at. I'm going to tap under Content on the Sites tab. And really, all I'm trying to point out here is you can go back to the SharePoint environment and take a look at and work through, navigate through your SharePoint environment as you do behind the desktop, just in a more, as they call, fan-friendly way here in terms of looking at, you know, I've got the sites and the portal set up. I've got, again, recent sites that I've looked at and what I'm following. And the separation of the sites and the documents content hubs here are critical to make it easy to get into you know, what you're doing. So as we're going through the navigation, I'm going to go back to that content hub that we, or the launch pad that I started out with. And what I really want to show within this environment is the ability to go into and see different content that we want to take a look at. So you'll see here a rendition of what that launch pad could look like and could be built like. You'll also see different launch pads that we can go into that are easy navigation points for organizations. Here's more of a corporate-friendly launch pad that goes back into the news of an organization and is pulling content from their SharePoint environments to either scroll through, and you can take a look at, you know, some discussions or some blogs or things along those lines. And you can easily go to, as I tap on documents at the top, look at the calendar events. You can go to different calendar and documents and communities within your corporate framework here. So again, we're trying to make this easy, trying to make it convenient for people to go in and look at their content and look at their documents and be able to access them with relative ease. The second piece that we're trying to, that you want to do from a mobile perspective is when you're on the road, you're not necessarily always in tune with the latest things that are out there, or to be able to discover behind a desktop environment, to discover the assets that are being built within your home, within the corporate structure, within the corporate home. So you want to be able to search things, you want to be able to get things quickly. So under the Discover tab, you'll see there I have a search button. And if I go to that search button and then quickly go in and I'm just going to type in guide and go to it, you're going to see it's going to go back through. It's sending a query out to SharePoint 2013 right now and going in, executing that enterprise search in 2013 and saying, okay, across all your portals, across all your sites, where is the word guide is coming up? And here you'll see in the first document that's in the title, in the third document down, you'll see it's contextual and showing you where guide is showing up within that. So I could type directly into one of these, and I'm just going to hit the demo and go into the QT. And it's not found, of course. It always comes out that way. But you can see I could go in directly here from the search and go directly into one of those documents along this line. You also have the ability to type in and hit favorites. I tapped on favorites on the side. So I can go directly into you know, any document that I'm looking at. And here's just an example document from the New Jersey. For those of you that know us, we're headquartered in New Jersey, so this is an important document for us. I probably shouldn't have left this on the screen. It shows you what I was searching in the past. But here's a PowerPoint document that you can go through and see on the road. You can also do key things in terms of looking at how do I edit documents like this. So I can go in and create edits. I can point things out. I can do all kinds of things along those lines. And then I can save this. I can, you know, save it back and into my SharePoint libraries. I can copy it to whomever I want to copy it to. I can save it as a draft, etc. So all critical things. That, yep.
So I just have sorry, I thought I'd grab you at a good spot, but I have a couple fantastic questions from the chat, and I thought it'd be great for you to answer it while you have the demo still up and running. So do you mind if I ask you a quick question? Okay, well, the first one is from Dave that says, what does any SharePoint items mean? Documents, list items, any access to specific SharePoint views/forms?
All of the above, Dave. So it means access to, as you can see here, let me go back in. As you can see here, various libraries. I have Launchpads. I have sales docs in here. I have various lists that I can go into. So if I go into a list here that was created in corporate news, it's a blog or an announcement basically within the SharePoint environment, but it could be the results of blogs that people are writing in. So it's really any type of document or any type of list or calendar event or et cetera within SharePoint.
Great. And the other question, which is also great, related to navigation, is can you navigate to a specific library or list via the site icons?
Yep, so if I hit sites, and I don't have, you're going to see a demonstration here, so I don't have, let's put it this way, maybe, yeah, if I go to Contoso here, you'll see subsites underneath. So this might closer match, the things that we have. I wish I had my Infragistics one up and running on this device, but I'm remote and I got the VPN in, and VPN sort of doesn't do well with their server, but as I'm trying to show it to you. So I've not done that, but you can see here that you can go to then departments. I can go down through the engineering, and I can go in then to the sites and the libraries and everything that are below that engineering site. So it's the same navigation that you'd have within SharePoint, just being done in a logical fashion to display it on a mobile device that makes sense. And one of the things I probably should do this for you, if I flip it around, it should, you'll see it's responsive in that it's going to, flip to the vertical versus the horizontal that I was at. So all the responsiveness is built into the application also. So Pierce, more questions?
That's it for now, so feel free to finish, okay. And thank you guys for your questions. Feel free to keep sending them across.
Cool, so I'm tapping on the social piece, and you'll see here, this is again SharePoint Social that we were taking a look at, and I'm going into and using this as an example, the typical Garth Fort user, and you see here news feeds that he's looking at. You can see things where, you can tap on mentions, you can see where other people are mentioning him. You can also see things like alerts. Now, alerts are on here, and I'll go back and show you what we're doing with alerts later on in just a little bit, and when we go through documents in general. So, but that's an important key factor too, and you can see likes that he has and things that he's liking from other people's content, etc. So we've gone through how I get to navigate, how I can discover things within the organization, and then how I can socially collaborate. But one of the things that any person does mostly within SharePlus is look at documents and synchronize those documents. So if I go back to my sites menu and go to a demo, if I tap and hold on the documents piece, you'll see some things come up, the documents library, some things come up. I can open it here, I can edit the settings, I can view it in web, but I have two things at the top that say a star, which is adding it as a favorite, and a bell, which is setting an alert. So if I tap on the bell, anytime now an item changes within that documents library, I'm going to be alerted to it. And so you'll see the Garth Fort, the alerts, why I showed you that right there was, when a document changes now, it's going to alert Garth, hey, something in the documents library has changed. Well, it'll actually say what the document was that changed and what it is, but it could be any one of the items that are within the documents library. I can also set that as a favorite. The last piece, or the piece I was going to show you here, is I can also set this to keep offline. Now, when I set it to keep offline, you'll see a little icon comes up and shows that it's not synchronized yet. And depending upon how I've customized and configured this, I can start my synchronization of the documents library. It's the only thing I have here. And you'll see it's going to kick off the synchronization of this for offline use. And you'll see that icon has turned a little green, and it's now synchronized for me. So those 6 documents that are in that documents library, when I tap on it, now all have the button that tells me they're synchronized for offline use. So if I have people that are going in the field and they need to be productive, whether online or offline, especially in this Salesforce case where pharmaceutical reps are walking into doctor's offices or walking into hospitals or surgery centers, where definitely Wi-Fi, while it's in use now, for years and years and years wasn't in use, and if you couldn't have your cell phones on or you couldn't have your Wi-Fi on and things like that, or your 4G from a cellular perspective, they need to have offline access. And so offline access here, now when I go into this document, if I go offline, my document here would be a great document to bring up is all the things would be available to me on an offline basis. And I'd be able to work with them offline as I'm going through it. Okay? The last piece, and I was showing you the in PDF search along those lines. One of the things that we get to is, just like in SharePoint, you can go back in and open documents. You can check documents out in SharePoint as well as check them back in here. I can literally copy these and do things with it. I can also, in the case of, as we're working in Share Plus here, email things. So I could tap on the email document and directly, I've taken this document, if you look at it, I made changes to it, I altered it, did different things with it. I could then go straight in and email this document out to, whomever I wanted to email it out to straight out of here. That's the power of sitting, as I'm sitting in front of a client and he says, and we go through a couple documents for a PowerPoint presentation, bang, I've mocked up the PowerPoint presentation, I've circled the things that are key, and I'm, emailing it to them while I'm sitting in front of them. So very powerful stuff in terms of what you can accomplish. Just to show you that in PDF search too, I'll probably get some hits on family given the document. And you can see here that, it comes back and gives me a contextual search in PDF of family too. So the use case here, just like in the sales and marketing where they're searching large documents, but the use case here is anybody in the field, especially inspection, especially people that are doing inspections or construction crews or any type of field operations people are oftentimes using huge manuals. Another great story or a great example would be factory floor, believe it or not. Lots of the people now that are running robots on the factory floor are looking at going to iPads for their workers that need to fix those robots. So if something goes down on a line, which is costing tons of money, they want the iPad with the manual sitting in front with people searching the manual for the exact part number and filling out an order right there on the floor as they're fixing that robot. And that's a use case that, again, that both of us, Pierce and I, are sharing right now in terms of a new client that we're working on. So those are all examples of how you can be mobile, how you can be effective, whether you're online or offline with the using the Share Plus environment. Again, as Pierce was saying too, this is all done within the corporate Mobile Iron platform, so you can be assured that it's secure and that nothing here is going to leak out, and that it's easy to change and easy to configure as you're going.
Phil, another fantastic question just came in from Chris.
Sure.
The question is, can the email function attachment functionality be turned off?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we stress within our environment is the ability to configure just about any type of, or feature trim, for a better term, any type of feature like that, emailing, in PDF search, how big files I can sync with. Think about the myriad of characteristics that you'd have within an application like this. All those configuration capabilities are centralized. They can be trimmed. So I can turn off emailing if I don't want my salespeople to have emailing, but I want my executives to have the power to email. I can have multiple configurations, one for sales, one for executives, one for marketing, etc. So you can have multiple configurations. We use and really authenticate based upon mostly any methodology, but a lot of folks in that regard use Active Directory groups to set up configurations like that and to set up multiple configurations, and all those can be used also. So you can feature trim practically anything that's in here.
Perfect, thank you.
This is sort of a stern picture of a guy. Oh, there's a nice power tool. I always like showing this one because that gentleman doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun as he's doing his job, but unlike all the rest of us that are on the phone. Pierce, I'm going to turn it back to you, and unless we have more questions that look like from a demo perspective, I'll flip it back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to emphasize one of the key pieces here is you saw a lot of amazing and useful functionality of Share+, and you pretty much saw nothing of MobileIron, which is exactly the experience that you want for your enterprise users to have that productivity advantage. Is MobileIron sits in the background and it secures everything that Phil just demonstrated. And in the unfortunate situations where the phone is lost or anything like that, the phone is compromised, etc., MobileIron Policy Server and Sentry can take action to quarantine and handle these situations to constantly keep the device in compliance and very secure for the long term. So now now that we've had a chance to talk about one of the key challenges, and there are many of them that I'm sure you guys are all facing today, and the platform that helps solve the solution, we just wanted to briefly cover a lot of the customers that are using MobileIron and taking great advantage of the security features that MobileIron provides to them on a daily basis. And as you can see, a lot of them are some of the largest companies in the world who are using the MobileIron solution to drive value and drive security within their organization.
And the same thing sort of from our perspective in Share+, in that you'll see a lot of the names that carry over, and both from MobileIron perspective and then companies that are using Share+ as their mobile access to SharePoint or into other file network shares and things like that. So our customers sort of span the gamut. There are stories behind each one of these customers that we can go into and talk to you about. They're really interesting in what they're doing. But there's also, and you know, it's sort of like Pierce shared too, sort of the brag list of the clients that you're looking at. There's also the company out there, and I'll throw one out for you that isn't on here, like at Tampa Airport, where their personnel around the field use nothing but mobile devices and are using Share+. But yet there's probably no more than 50 of them in Tampa Airport that are doing that. So it spans the gamut from the small companies to the very large companies in terms of their usage pattern here, and an array of use cases, everything from field energy companies using it to the pharmaceutical example we gave here to just about any retail companies out there too that are doing field work and store work and things like that. So I'm sure that if in talking to us we can find a use case that fits what you're trying to get to too as you're going through. The last piece, and probably, I mean, MobileIron is probably a household name to most of you. At least if it isn't, I sure hope it is. The Infragistics might be less of a household name for, especially in the enterprise mobility side. So I just wanted to point out to you who Infragistics is as the last piece. 26-year-old company. We're headquartered in Cranberry, New Jersey. You can tell by how fast I talk that I come from the East Coast. And that I throw my words together fairly quickly, and I apologize for that, but it's 30 years of training living here. So we're headquartered in Cranberry, New Jersey, offices around the world, support around the world. Lots of people using the software, over 1.5 million people now in our Share+ community that are using the software. And we're proud of our partnerships, and especially proud of our MobileIron App Connect partnership that we have with MobileIron. So Pierce, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you, Phil. So that essentially concludes the presentation part of our webinar here, and my favorite part is the Q&A session. Now, I'm just going to make sure that, Phil, you stay unmuted because I'm going to ping a lot of questions towards you, put you on the hot seat, if you don't mind.
Oh, no problem. So I'm going to start off.
Oh, go ahead.
So, Pierce, you can hear me?
I'm going to start off. Oh, go ahead. I'm going to start off. 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 I'm going to st
I was going to say, Pierce yelled at me that we should have definitely a lot of questions, a lot of room for Q&A, so I'm expecting a lot.
Yes. I'm gonna start with the first one that's in front of me, and I'll allow Stacy to pop in with the next question that we haven't answered yet. So the first one that I'm seeing is from Dave. What is the level of effort for creating a Launchpad screen?
That is a super question, Dave, and it can be everything from next to nothing and a few hours worth of work the whole way through to, a week's worth of time to get something tweaked the right way for what you do. Here's what we've been doing so you have an understanding and you can get a feel for it. That template that I showed you, the Launchpad that I showed you with the construction guy on it with that skin or that screen that was on there, we're providing that now as a template to our clients. And the reason we're doing that is, you got to get started someplace. The linking behind it is fairly easy. It's HTML, it's JavaScript. We have a solution development kit that we built and provide to everyone. So it's open there that you can go in and build through JavaScript. You can build all the links yourself. But we give you an example now to start out with that's a good example, pretty complex, a great place to start. And some people never leave that. That news one that I showed you, some people never leave that one and use that and just link their assets to it. We have 3 or 4 examples now of things that we provide to customers. And so in that case, if you're linking, it's a couple hours of process to put the right links in, to point to the right spots within your SharePoint environment. If you want something completely custom, it depends on whether you want to do it or whether we want to do it, or you want to hire us to do it. But I think it's probably somewhere in the 2 to 3 day range in terms of getting it tested and getting it out so that you can use it. So if you think of if 2 to 3 days is thinking of 24 hours, it would be 24 hours of work time or something like that to get a normal Launchpad up and running and then get it tested and get it in place. But Dave, great question. But you can get really complex or you can stay fairly simple. Depends on what you want to do.
Perfect, Phil. Thank you, and thanks, Dave. Now, while Stacy is pulling up the next question, I wanted to just let everybody know that mine and Phil's email address is on the WebEx right now, so you can feel free to email us directly if we had any questions or if you had any points or questions that we didn't answer. And additionally, this was a fairly high-level explanation about the solution overall. We didn't have time to go into a complex configuration and understanding of the policies and how all of the security works. So if you're looking for more in-depth information, then feel free to reach out to either of our demo teams at MobileIron or SharePlus, and we'll be happy to dive in and give you more information as well.
Great. Thanks, Pierce. So we had another question come here, and Phil, I think this is addressed to the Infragistics team, but does SharePlus work with Office 365 or Online 365?
Yep, we do. So we're on O365 compatible. We work with it and work with OneDrive also.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question that we had is, can you choose to sync only when on Wi-Fi to avoid eating up any data plan for your users?
Wow, we're diving hard. And I'm not a technical guy. I'm going to answer this question. I am a technical guy, but hey, yes, you can. So that's one of those configuration features which I was talking about from a flexibility standpoint that makes our product so flexible. So you could do things like that. Oddly enough, hey, I only want to sync when I'm on Wi-Fi. I don't want to sync when I'm on 3G or 4G. I only want to sync, certain assets. I don't want to sync, other assets. So those are all things that can be done within the configuration. Obviously, the picking and choosing of what you sync is done, by the user, or it can be actually part of that configuration is the ability to automatically sync things or have them be synced up front when you first deliver the application through MobileIron to your customer or to your employee. So when that employee first gets it, and because of the partnership we have with MobileIron, all the sites can be pre-configured. You can have your sync turned on and say that, these 3 libraries are the libraries that they need to be synced for offline use, And all that can be done before that person that could be a novel person or a neophyte in terms of mobile activity, before they even take a look at it, all that can be configured and done for them. So it's very easy to figure out the right use case for the right client, and that's all about that user experience and that user interface that we talked about. Is you got to make it easy for them to use. You got to make it something that they want to use. So I'll give you a great example too, and hopefully I'm not going to kill the time, but people inside Infragistics now, and given we eat our own cooking, and we're a little bit biased because we love our products, but when I see guys in meetings now, they'll have their laptop sitting in front of them, and if it's something in SharePoint, because if your SharePoint site looks like most of the SharePoint sites, we'll see people go directly to the iPad they have in front of them and tap on the iPad or tap on the Android device and go directly into SharePlus to access the assets that are sitting on the laptop right in front of them, because it's easier, it's more convenient, and I've built a user interface that's very cool to use, and it's very easy to get to. So that's just a use case right there in terms of what's going to be happening in the future as we go, and the mobile explodes from here even more so than it is today. That's how people are going to access things. They want easy to use, easy to deploy, secure, and something that they want to look at and want to use. SharePoint, unfortunately, for most of us, looks a little ugly still in most of our corporate environments. So, we have to live with that.
Awesome, thanks, Phil. Another question just came in around forms. So you mentioned access to forms earlier. Does that include InfoPath forms?
It does. We do work with InfoPath forms. I don't know at what point Microsoft is going to deprecate that InfoPath capability. At some point, we know they are, but they haven't done it yet, and I guess they're going to want alternatives. We also work with other forms providers that are out there to partner up with them to provide a great experience for our users too. So yes, we work with forms.
Great, thanks, Phil. And then another question came in here from Chris. Are the documents synced offline on the mobile device when it's encrypted?
So I think I'll take that one.
Go ahead.
And Phil, feel free to jump in as well. So the answer is yes. There's definitely configuration that's going to be involved for how that's encrypted. But yes, when an application is a App Connect application and utilizes App Connect technology, then the data will be both encrypted. The data will be encrypted both in rest and in motion. Phil, did you have something to add?
Yeah, Pierce, the only other thing I'd add to that is in SharePlus itself, there's two different things that you want to think about the mobile device. There's storing things locally, meaning on that device, and then there's also, from our perspective, when you're using it offline, storing it for inside the application. So when we sync up for offline use, those offline documents and lists and things that are synced up for offline use are still within the container of the application. They're being stored, but they're within that container. So that container is fully within the MobileIron environment. So there's also the ability then, you saw I showed one point local files. You can store information locally on the device itself. And that's another one of those things that you can feature turn out, by the way. But you can store it locally on that device. Now, given that you're still in the mobile environment, that's still encrypted at rest. You're still going to be there. But I wanted to make that distinction in that, just because you're syncing it doesn't mean it's stored locally in the device outside the application. It's still within the confines of the application.
Perfect. Great. Okay, I've got a little bit of a technical one. We might have to take this off. I believe I understand this one, but I'm going to pop it over to you, Phil, and let's see if we can get this one between the two of us. So I'll read it word for word. Quick question. Can we integrate with IDP, also known as Okta, for authentication and SSO purpose? Now let me rephrase to tell you what I think he's asking. I think he's asking, does SharePlus essentially integrate with Okta for SSO reasons? It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one from a standpoint.
It is a tough one, and it's actually, and the reason I sort of half chuckled was, this might be a person that I was with yesterday, because I was with clients yesterday that we were going through the exact same question. we are working on, let's put it this way, we're working on that for the single sign-on and for how you use Okta to federate your single sign-on. And it's not, let's just put it this way, we're still working on it. I think we're going to be able to get there fairly soon, but it's things that we're testing right now to make sure that it works in all the environments. And beyond Okta, there's other federated, single sign-on capabilities and other providers too, which we need to work on. So the short answer is probable, but we're still working to test and do everything that we need to do to be able to get that done.
Great, thanks, Phil. Another question here for you. Is the custom Launchpad feature only available with SharePlus Enterprise?
It is. We do sell on the App Store, as lots of folks probably know. I've seen it on the App Store. We sell it there. That doesn't include Launchpads. Launchpads were considered to be sort of something that a company or a corporate environment would be looking at, and so that's why it's with the Enterprise Edition.
Great, thanks, Phil. And then another question here was, will my SharePoint Online site look and feel the same way on SharePlus, or do I need to create a custom mobile site?
It's probably, well, I can't say that it's going to look the same in ours is a native application. So when you say native, that means it's native to iOS, it's native to Android, and we've built the responsiveness of what we need to build into that application so that anything you put in there is going to be responsive and good looking in an iOS environment or an Android environment. That's, SharePoint Online it's going to look similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. And the reason being is that responsiveness that we have to build into our applications.
Thanks, Phil. We'll hang on the line for just a couple more questions. Looks like there's a question around test driving SharePlus for Office 365. And so we'll follow up with the Infragistics team afterwards to facilitate that. But if there are any more questions, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A or the chat window at the moment.
Hey, Stacy, there's one other thing that we should, and Pierce, one of the things we should probably say, which is the enterprise question was a good question previously, and we should probably also point out that the enterprise edition is also the edition that would be used with MobileIron. So obviously, MobileIron and SharePlus work well together in corporations or in organizations, and that's where you deploy it. So the enterprise edition is what we deploy with the MobileIron environment or MobileIron platform.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarification, Phil.
Yep.
Okay, and just a quick heads up, I've also popped in additional information about MobileIron and Infragistics partnership on our marketplace in the chat window. So if you'd like to take a look at some more information, feel free to click the link there. And it looks like another question just came in, and I think this might be our last question of the day. But besides the MobileIron infrastructure, are there any other on-premise servers or software required to install for SharePlus?
Wow, that's something I should have covered up front. That's a perfect question. No, there's no other infrastructure. There's no other IT requirements. We try to be pretty agnostic to any environment in terms of what you're using with your environment, but nothing you're adding to your servers, nothing you're adding to SharePoint. It's a client-based application that we use through web services to access the information in the SharePoint environment. So great question, and absolutely another reason on easy deployment, besides being the MobileIron platform, easy deployment means no IT resources needed to get things up and running.
Great, thanks, Phil. And then one last quick question here. How much different is SharePlus from Docs at Work?
So I'll answer this one. It's a long question to answer. It's a long question to talk about, but a quick question to answer. And the quick question is they're very different. They're very different overall solutions, and I highly encourage you to get a demo and look into videos on both to sort of see the user interface and how they both work.
Awesome. Thanks, Pierce. All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone in the audience for your participation and attention today. Thanks so much, Pierce and Phil from Infragistics for joining us today. We had a couple, also just want to point out, we had a couple notes on just demos and evals in the question and answer panel, so we'll follow up with you accordingly after the presentation, and you will be receiving the recording once it's available. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Pierce.
Thanks, Stacey.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Pierce. Thanks, Stacey. Bye-bye.